Yeah, YouTubers, Tasman here bringing you another episode of Fantasy Grounds from the ground up. And I went and I did look at the wiki, and unfortunately, it hasn't been updated in a very long time because combat has 4 options in it. However, a good news is one of them is this guy, and I guess it makes sense. I don't think I'd ever use it myself, but this was one of the ones that we had a question about because Fantasy Grounds does not have a pause. But it does say that the turn stop at round starts. Here is the actual definition. It says when turned on, the turn marker in the combat tracker is advanced past. And the turn marker is in the combat tracker is advanced past the end of the actor list using the next actor button. Then the first actor in the combat tracker will not be activated until next action is pressed once again. So basically, it makes you at the end of the round press the next actor or the end turn equivalent, but I think it actually is called next actor button twice, and then it will actually highlight the first player, the first person in the combat tracker. I don't really use that, and I don't know why a lot of people would. Let's see, we've done that one, and now we've done that one. So, unfortunately, like I said, because the wiki is so outdated and it doesn't look like anyone has really updated it or added information to it, some of these things we're just going to have to muddle our way through and figure them out as we go. So now let's go into the token options. We have the GM option for show effects. This let's see if this is what I'm thinking of. Show ally effects. I'm not sure if this means as far as viewable by the players and the GM. The thing is GM can always see everything. So it would make sense to me that this is saying that the token GM show effects is actually saying that players are able to see icons on the all tokens, whether they're enemy or not, and see the little icon representing effects. And you can also turn that icon so when they hover over it, they see those. Or you can make it mark, which I'm not exactly sure what mark is, or mark hover. Maybe we'll have to play with some of these in the game. I haven't done a lot with the Fantasy Grounds for quite a while. So we'll work on this. Then, of course, this one is showing the health bars. So the default here is it's just a tiny little dot that'll be green. And then as it takes damage, it'll turn kind of from green to red the more damage it takes. Or you could do dot hover so you can see it there. I usually like the bar, which is this option right here. And I usually have bar on for me so I can always see the bar of the tokens, so I can visually quickly see, who's hurt, who's not. Then of course there's bar hover. So like I said, I usually set it to bar. If you're streaming, this is a good idea to have it set to bar also, because then your viewers are actually able to get this information and see it. Then of course we have the same thing here with players as we did up here with show effects. So we can show ally effects as an icon. We can show an icon hover, a mark hover, or off. Then of course we also have that with the health bars. This once again I usually turn to bar. If we actually I guess I could just click on that side, but if we right click, nope. Then we have token player show enemy effects. Okay, so this is if the GM wants to always see those icons or not. This is if players are able to see the enemy effects on them, and I usually leave these on icon. However, on the token player show enemy health, I usually actually turn that one off. So that's going to do the same thing where it's dot hover, bar hover, but I don't like the metagaming that actually causes, because they can see, oh yeah, it's almost dead, let's focus on this guy. Now I will still tell a player, if they say, how's this mob looking, I'm more than happy to say they're bloodied, they're looking really rough, they're looking terribly bad and stuff like that. Then this next one, token auto scale grid. This is saying 80% of the grid. So when you place a token, instead of occupying that entire grid cell, it's actually only occupying 80% of the cell. So it has a tiny bit of space all the way around it. I think this just makes like when you have tokens next to each other, it just looks a little less cluttered, and that is the default. Then we have the size of the token effect. So these effects that it's talking about here, the standard is fairly large, but the more effects you get on a token, the worse that's going to look, because it's going to cover up the token. So you also have small, and then of course you have large. We'll just go ahead and leave that on standard here. The token facing indicator is a tiny little yellow triangle. So if this guy right here were a token, right, it would have a little yellow triangle here to represent its facing, because this token here doesn't have a distinct facing, because it's kind of, you're looking down at it. Now if I had a token that was actually top down of a beast or something, and I clearly knew its head was here, I wouldn't need the facing on there. A lot of times GMs don't actually really even worry about the facing. If someone's here and I want to attack them, but I'm facing this way, I can turn around easily. And usually I don't, say, oh, well, you're not facing that character, because you can turn around quite easily. And then finally we have, finally, second to finally, we have the token party vision. So this is showing basically all your tokens are sharing the same vision. So if a guy's in a room and another guy's in another room, they will actually both see the vision of each other. Where if you have this set to off, it will have your token sees what your token sees. Definitely helps with the metagaming. However, when combat's going on or initiative is rolled and they know that a battle's going on, they're going to metagame and head there regardless whether their token hears or doesn't hear any combat sounds. Then we have house rules. These are more of your house rules, things that maybe you have specific things that you like to do specifically. Wow, that was a lot of specifics. So anyway, there is the attack, fumble, crit tables. So I usually like those both on. If you have a fumble, there's a table that rolls on automatically for that, and also for crit. There's the fumble only, there's the crit only, and then there's off. Automatic death rolls. So you can make it so that a player or NPCs, usually NPCs don't have death rolls, but there are modules that make it so that if they're an important NPC, that yes, they will have death rolls. So with those, you can either have that on or off. I usually have that off. I'll have the players, they like to roll their own dice for everything, so I usually set that off. NPC hit points. This one I actually like. What this is going to do is, the standard means they all have the same hit point. It's going to be basically, their default. If we set this to max, it will always max it out. If we set it to random, it will, I believe what it's actually doing is it's actually doing that little formula underneath an NPC stat block for hit points that says, 2d6 plus whatever. It's actually rolling that off screen and setting their HP to that. The other option that it might be doing there is it's just, doing plus a couple, minus a couple based off of whatever the max is or the average is. I like to think that it's actually rolling that just behind the scenes. This is one I actually really like because it keeps the battle going on, keeps it kind of fresh and exciting. So what this does is at the end of a round, it will actually auto reroll initiative. And so I usually like that on because it will totally shuffle the combat tracker every round. Now, if you told your characters and stuff to re-roll at every round, that would really slow down the game. But this does it all automatically behind the scenes, and it's actually, I really enjoy it because it's not just the guy that rolled the initiative highest the first round always goes every round first. It kind of shuffles that up. Now, a lot of times, because they have the highest initiative and the modifier for their initiative and stuff, they'll probably still usually go first, but it does give that little mixing up. And sometimes the person at the end of the round ends up getting to go again because they're the new lead in the initiative for the new round. Excuse me. So that's one I actually really like to leave on. Damage, massive system shock. I never do this one, but this one, from what I understand, let me just see really quick under house rules. Is there house rules in the... Of course not. This one actually makes damage more damaging, I guess. I've never really actually played with it, but I think what it kind of does is gives different effects or something depending on how much damage you take and stuff. I know there are modules that actually make it so, you could take damage to an arm or something like that, and now you can't use the weapon in your offhand or things like that. This, I don't believe, does anything like that, but it does kind of make it so that the more damage you take, the more penalties you get and stuff. Someone can clarify that if they want, because it's not on the wiki. Map diagonal distance. Excuse me. So this is basically when you're moving diagonally from one square to another. It's how much distance is that actually taking. So the default is 1, so that whether you're moving forward or moving diagonally, it's 1. Some DMs might say technically there is no diagonal, and to move diagonal, you're actually moving forward and then left or right, which would actually be 2, which, you could say it's 1.5, or you could say raw, which I believe would say it's 2. I'm not that finicky about movement distance, so I usually leave that at 1. Then we have currency weight, whether it's on or off. One of the newer things since my last tutorial set is currencies actually can have a weight set to them. So, gold can weigh X amount, and it can apply towards the total amount that you're able to carry. So you have on or off on that. I usually don't worry about currency weights. I'm going to just leave it as is. Next, we have attunement slots. So basic D&D says you have 3 attunement slots. There are 3 items you can be attuned to, and that is it. You would have to deattune, is that a word? Or unattune, whatever, to an item in order to get another one. So here you can see we have the option of 3, 4, 5, proficiency bonus, so you can attune to as many items as you have proficiency bonus, or back to 2. 3. 2 is down 1. So D&D's basic is just 3 items. you can set those however you want. Then we have encumbrance. So encumbrance is basically how much you can weigh and what the penalties for going over those different thresholds are. So for example, the standard encumbrance is, if you go over your encumbrance, your movement's slowed down, you might end up at some point taking exhaustion, things like that. So there's the standard option, there's the variant option, and that is it for those. You can choose which one, play with those, play with one with standard, play with it with variants, and you can see how you like it. Choose which one you like. Healing variants. So we have standard, we have healing surges, which I'm not exactly sure how to explain, but once again, nothing in the wiki on that. We have slow natural heal. I've never actually played with this, but I do understand, like, for example, World of Warcraft. After combat, when you're out of combat, your character will slowly heal back up until they're max. It might be interesting to try this to see if... I don't know if it'll just go off your system clock and maybe heal 1 point every minute or something like that. I'm actually curious. Maybe we'll try that and see how it actually works. Or... because you're not doing rounds, it can't be based off the combat track. It'd have to be based off of your system clock, that your character would slowly natural heal. And of course, back to standard. Then we have inspiration slots. So in D&D, generally there is only one inspiration slot. You either have inspiration or you don't. Some campaigns, the GM might want multiple inspiration slots to say, okay, you can have up to 2, 3 or something like that. So standard is just going to be a single slot. Then we could have 2 slots, 3 slots, or back to standard. I don't think I've ever seen it go much over 3, but oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry, that's attunement. Standard 2 or 3. Oh no, I did do that. I just must put my mouse over that. So anyway, I usually just leave it standard. But if you're generous on dealing out inspiration, then you might do one of these other ones, 2 or 3. When a player does have inspiration, actually draw on their portrait, it'll actually draw a big yellow star to hopefully remind them that they have inspiration. I'm guilty of it myself. When I'm playing, I always forget I have inspiration. I roll bad, I just take the hit. I forget that, I could re-roll that. For those you don't know, inspiration basically says you can re-roll a d20 roll. So, a failed save, a failed check, I don't think you'd ever re-roll. I guess maybe you could use it for initiative, or for an attack, something like that. You can usually re-roll that. And I think that takes care of all these options. Like I said, I'm sorry for any of these that I didn't have a very clear thing, but there's not a lot of documentation on it, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and talk about these next buttons down here. So we have actually I want to move it over this way. So we have our background decal, which is this guy right here. Different other modules you get will have different backgrounds. It used to be that you just had to cycle through them and they were up in these options. Now you actually get a little thumbnail of them. So right now we have the Smiteworks decal. If we don't want a decal, we just clear it. If we want D&D, we choose that. We can choose whatever we want. If we have a boatload, we actually have a search here. So we could say, D and hit enter. There's none in there for D. Let's do D&D. There we go. So there you can see it only shows the ones we want. Next thing over is currencies. We talked a tiny bit about this with the encumbrance of currencies and whether they actually have weight. So here you can see we have platinum pieces. Gold pieces is kind of the standard, so that's where they stick the 1. If you want to arrange that differently, feel free. Honestly, I don't really even use copper or not Ethereum. Is it Ethereum? That's how much I don't use it. I don't remember what it stands for. In my games, usually there's silver, gold, and there's platinum. But as you can see here, 1 gold is, 2 ounces, maybe? I think it's ounces. So anyway, so that's 1 gold. Then the value here is showing us, since this is our one, or this is our main one that we set up, then we say, okay, platinum is worth 10 gold. Ethereum, I could swear it's Ethereum, is worth half. 2 Ethereum is worth 1 gold. 10 silver is worth 1 gold. What is that? 100 copper is worth 1 gold. But like I said, I really don't use copper or the E1. So, and you can even create your own just by clicking add. You can add other ones. And then, of course, once again, click on the edit thing, and it will give you the option to get rid of it. If you don't want copper and Ethereum, I really don't remember if that's it. You can actually get rid of those, so they're not even values in your game. I usually just leave all that alone. Languages. These are all the languages that we were listing down here. So not every language in the game is here. For example, let's see, is there any that I know off the top of my head? Is Sylvan in here? Sylvan's in here. Deep speech. A lot of them are represented here, but you can actually create your own. You'll notice these drop downs right here say which font it's actually going to use. So if we wanted, well, let's say Thieves' Cant as a language, because technically it is. We could go in here and add Thieves' Cant. So Thieves, Thieves, with a, hopefully I'm spelling that right, and CAN''T. So there's Thieves. Is it Thieves' Cant with an apostrophe? I don't think it has the apostrophe. I think it's just can't, like, yeah. So then we can actually choose in here what font we want to use for Thieves' Cant. So you'll notice it moved it to the bottom, and we have these options down here for our Thieves' Cant. So we can say it's going to use more the primordial or something like that. Now, just because it's primordial and say primordial actually speaks it, those are just the runes it's going to use. It's not actually going to, someone that speaks primordial will also be able to decipher it. That's just to kind of give it runes and stuff. So and then if we want to edit, delete, we can do that there also. So there is our languages. Oh my gosh, we're already at 23 minutes. Message of the day. Anytime your players open up the thing, they can get a message pop up as their messages of the day saying, remember, we're level 8, something like that, so you can do that. Once again, anytime you see these little eyes, they're draggable. You can actually put it there and it will display stuff. You can put it down here to bring up this window and hide this window anytime we want. Usually these little eyes. Now, depending on the theme you have, I have the gray theme. I think another one uses a tiny little buckler. So depending on the theme you have, it might be a different little thing that means drag and drop. Next, we have the setup. This is the familiar thing we just saw that when we, well, I guess 3 episodes ago, when we loaded, it actually had our options. If we decide we do like that and we want it, we can click on show on load and it will do it every time. Finally, we have token lights. So this is our options that we actually saw in effects. If we want to give a token a torch, we can simply just drag a torch on top of the token. We can once again also just click it down here and it will give us the information on the torch. We can add our own. So as you can see, there's lots of options with these. Whoops, I got rid of that window. If I click on it, we can see we can create our own. We can have it be colored. We can set the brightness. We can set the dim light on it. We can make it so it has an animation. There's flicker, pulse, flash, and flicker. Basically those three. We can have the fall off. You know, this is the fall off for the brightness. So this is kind of the merging from bright to dim, and then the dim to darkness. So we can say it has this nice gradient. This is the speed of the animation. This is the tag name for it. And this is how long it lasts. And we can set up our own once again. We've gone over that several times. So I think that pretty much covers the options. Wow, that was 2 videos of options and these other little things, which we're going to go more into detail on all these different components. I mean, we actually only said combat tracker and party sheet. There's a reason for that. We don't have any tokens yet. But once we get some tokens, a character, NPCs and stuff, we'll actually go over those. I guess I really perused over calendar. I don't personally use calendar very much, and we don't have the module installed yet. So we'll also go over that once we look into modules, which is actually in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and did I miss one? Sidebar isn't in here anymore. Okay. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels. And don't forget to tell other people about my channel. Have a check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. We grow the channel. Like I said before, it's win-win for everyone. And that is it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.